Welcome, everybody. Today I have Red Boswell, the president of IFPG. Red, welcome to the call.
Awesome, Lance. Thank you. Great to be here.
Red, can you briefly introduce yourself and give everyone a little bit about your background?
Sure. I'm a franchise geek. I've been in franchising about 20 years, helping people achieve their dreams in business a whole lot longer than that, and an entrepreneur since the womb. Just love what we get to do every day, impacting communities and lives with franchising. Now, as the president of IFPG, International Franchise Professionals Group, we're best known as a broker group or a referral consultant organization, the largest in the world. But we also have several other entities, including FranchiseWire.com, the industry's favorite news source, and several others. So we're really about connecting franchise professionals and connecting the world of franchising.
Well, can you tell everyone who's not familiar, if that's possible, with IFPG, what you guys do?
Sure. On the consulting and brokering side of things, we have about 650 individuals. You could call them, you think about real estate agents, Keller Williams and Remax. They have all these thousands of independent agents. Well, we have 650 plus independent consultants. They're out there helping people not buy houses, but helping them identify and purchase franchises. They're matchmakers, if you will, in that arena. Lots and lots of folks, especially in that 50 and 60-year-olds, are being displaced. They're getting age discrimination. They're frustrated that lean that ladder against the wrong career wall, if you will. And so our consultants are out there helping folks. And then we have over 600 franchisors that we work with, helping them find the best buyers, matching them with folks instead of a franchisor having to go through 1,000 leads, much of which are very low quality, uninterested, unqualified folks. We introduce them and they're going through maybe 5 or 10 to find the right fit and award franchises. So it's a match made in heaven with the franchise consultants helping those franchisors to find the right buyers. And then as an add-on, we've got over 150 vendors or suppliers to the franchise industry that work with the Zors, work with the consultants, and are supplying, whether it's attorneys or marketing companies or funding sources or we franchise your business companies, all those and many, many more, insurance, real estate, you name it. We're all working together, connecting franchise professionals through the IFPG membership network.
Hmm. And how would you say IFPG is different from other broker networks or groups?
Well, boy, we got 3 hours, right? uh, well, one big one is we are hardcore on technology. We want our consultants to have the most efficiently run businesses out there. Another would be our inventory. More franchisors work with us than anyone, so that certainly helps the candidate, helps the consultant. And well, a big one is our consultants keep all their commission. How crazy is that? It's part of our core model is if we have the best consultants, we win. And so providing them the best inventory, the best technology, the best ongoing support and training, whether it be at the front end, becoming a consultant, or the ongoing training and support, and then let them keep all their commission. The franchisors, the suppliers or vendors, they pay considerably more to be a part of IFPG. And again, when you're the best consultants out there and you're giving away tons and tons of your income to someone else, they get pretty attracted to IFPG real quick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think are the biggest problems you guys solve for franchisors? And I know, and you could even lean into brokers too, but I
Sure.
know it's like, yes, you help them find franchisees, but what else would you say are the biggest problems you guys help them with?
Well, three easy answers here. Number one, financial risk. I was a franchisor for many years. I was a global chief development officer for a couple of large global brands, and we're investing tens of thousands of dollars over and over and over in hopes to get a lead, to get a deal, to award a
Right.
franchise. Big time risk. I mean, I was spending, and sometimes on some avenues, some lead sources, 50 to $80,000 to get one franchisee. Well, with the consultants, we're providing it at a minute fraction of that. And then the franchisor pays a commission, a success fee after the fact, reducing that financial risk infinitely. The other two reasons go hand in hand. Now you've got a great lead. You have a candidate who is very interested in you, financially qualified. The geographic preferences match what your availability is in the market. They've got someone hand holding them, a wingman, if you will, that consultant helping them through the process. And so now you've got a candidate moving through your process faster. You're enjoying life as a franchise development representative. You now get to work with someone who wants to work with you instead of calling folks who have no money, think they applied for a job, don't speak English, etc. So now you got a great candidate. Your friend dev team is happier, and most importantly, perhaps, is now you got a great Z. That franchisee that has been brought to you by the consultant and becomes a Z, they know the power of listening to someone who's gone before them, following others' advice. They moved faster through the process, they've more financially qualified, and now they've got a happier, more qualified Z moving forward, which pays you royalties forever. That's the ultimate goal of any good franchisor. Earn those royalties with partners you want to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to tell franchises that by the time I bring someone to them, we've been through hours of conversations. We understand what they're looking for, their financial situation, their psychology, mindset, needs, and we presented things to them, and we've talked with lenders. So by the time they get to them, they know who they are, they want to do business with them, they're financially qualified, they're already sold. They just need to really go into the details of the business. So it's much better than, calling numbers that nobody calls you back. And at no
Amen.
cost to you, because there's nothing unless there's a commission.
Amen. Yeah, like buying that house. Realtors working for you day and night here, oftentimes for free, and they get compensated on the other end by the seller. I can go on and on, Lance,
Mhm.
about what makes us different. We do have a sister company that's an in-house lead provider for our consultants. It's a big concern of a lot of new consultants. Where in the world am I going to get these leads? And all the events we have and the support structure we provide, second to none. So it's a
Mhm.
fun business. Never been a better time to be in franchising, and certainly in the franchise referral space.
Can you share a couple stories of maybe some dramatic impacts that IFPG has made for some franchisors or even some brokers?
Boy, that might be on my list of books to write. I mean, there's a few thousand chapters on that. We IFPG and our wonderful network of consultants and franchisors will award well over 100 franchises a month. Think about that. Lives changed through franchising in the 1 to 2,000 new business owners per year. And so, yeah, there's a lot. We see franchisors, let's start with that, over and over again, frustrated about development. This is their baby. This franchisor has invested their blood, sweat, tears, their life into this model. They love it. It's the most beautiful model they've ever seen. Just like my baby daughter, it's the most beautiful creature I've ever seen, and they can't understand why everybody else doesn't see the beauty. You know, and so they're frustrated. They've dropped a whole lot of their life savings into marketing, trying to get franchisees. They're just dang frustrated. And so they find out about the consultant model, the brokers, as the industry calls us, and they realize the low financial risk, all the things we talked about, and they dive in all in. Now, franchisors who want to just test the waters with consultants very rarely succeed. But those franchisors who realize we're the number one source of awarded franchises in North America outside of just the organic leads that they get from walk-ins. So the number one source with the lowest financial risk. Oh my gosh, what's the catch? Well, you got to be all in. Relationship building takes time to ramp it up and for the consultants to get to know you. So the lives we've changed on the franchisor side are, heck, man, a third of the industry I think we've changed through allowing them to have that less risk and identify a much higher quality franchisee. Oh heck, Verlo Mattress is one that comes to mind. They were with us for a year and a half, frustrated, not really all in, and then they just woke up one day and said, let's do this right. They got serious, and they've been awarding franchises left to right. Another one that comes to mind, we didn't get prep on this, so I'm just thinking off the top of my head. LE Mental Health. Who ever thought a mental health clinic could thrive in the franchise space? And yet, here we are with over 400 LE mental health clinics across the country in about 2 years. It's been amazing to see that. And you know what's even cooler with them? And mental health. It's a need. Lots and lots of lives are being, so the Zor's life's changing. The franchisee is their life is changing, and that of their family and their extended family. And now they're so positively impacting their communities with mental health support. That's a couple of examples, Lance. On the consultant side, we've seen time and time again, whether it's a younger consultant like you who has come into this world of entrepreneurship and their eyes have been opened, or older end of the spectrum, me and beyond, who are just fed up with the rat race and the politics and the glass ceilings and just the junk that's out there, laid off for the 18th time, then can't find a job that pays them what they were getting paid for, on and on and on. The people oftentimes fool themselves to think that a job is secure, and yet they keep getting laid off and bumped, and maybe a little severance, usually not. And so the idea that they can take their life into their own hands, actually own it, take that, maybe it's their 401k or IRA, their retirement savings, and instead of investing it into the market that they don't even know what companies are out there, they have no influence on it, they're just hoping on a prayer that they're going to make something. Now take that, invest it in your own C Corp, build your own destiny and own it. And now you're not making 2% or 8% a year. You're putting some zeros on that sometimes through franchise ownership and the intangibles that you get from that. So over and over and over, I see consultants being able to do that for their own family as an IFPG consultant. So now we're double dipping. I know it's a long answer, but you see the franchise consultant changing their life, and then they're changing the lives of others. And so how fulfilling, how rewarding. It's kind of like, I mean, I call myself sometimes a franchise evangelist because I get so passionate about it. But all our IFPG consultants out there, in a way, are that too. I mean, think about when I was growing up, I wanted to be a pastor until I found out what pastors make. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can impact lives positively in franchising and maybe make a whole lot more. So I'm getting a bonus on all sides. So yeah, lives are being changed so positively through franchising and through franchise consulting.
Well, can you walk us through the process of how you help franchises? Maybe they're having their initial call through actually being part and, being engaged in the system.
How we help franchises. So there are dozens and dozens of things we do with that franchisor and their franchise development team or person to get them connected, get them exposure, marketing, if you will, to the consultants. Now, our marketing is marketing that opportunity and the
Hmm.
team behind the opportunity to the consultants. We're not out there marketing it to the world. IPG is not. Now the consultants might. So now, how about having 650 free bird dogs? Go back to that the sales world, the marketing world. If you own an insurance company or a real estate firm or any of those, you're looking for folks to open doors for you, to make introductions for you, and then you give them a nice fat commission if the deal happens. Well, that's what you got with IFPG. Hundreds and hundreds of folks out there opening doors for you for free, relatively speaking, and then paying them in commission. So when a franchisor comes on board, we have a big launch call. This is behind the scenes with planning and training, making sure their company profile is up to date, videos, ideal candidate profile. We look at the count and a whole bunch more, downloads and everything a consultant could ever want to know to be able to present that brand to their candidates and ultimately match the candidates with the right opportunities. Think about it, it's a little overwhelming. You have 600 plus franchise opportunities. How do we narrow it down to 6? It's a process, some science to it, some art to it, but we provide all the tools to the consultants and all the availability and access to the franchisors for all the parties, information and opportunities to sync. And after a little while, a bit of training by us and the support and technology in the back end, it's not a complicated process to ultimately make those matches right.
Hmm. And just because they're featured in front of all the brokers doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get traction. There's certain things that cause a broker to go, I don't know about this company, or I love this company. I'm excited to tell my clients about them. Can you give them some insights into those things that companies need to be ready to sell their franchise?
Absolutely. So, unit level economics, happy franchisees, validations, all of that is critical. Now, some of the emerging brands don't have those Z's yet. So, That's a little bit of an obstacle, regardless of lead source. But you got to have some get some videos, get a video or two at least about your brand. Let's get a solid website. Let's get a reason, clear communication on what your ideal candidate is and isn't, and on and on and on regarding have your house in order. When I was starting to date in my 20s, or in my teens, but when I was getting serious about dating in my 20s and maybe finding that spouse, and I didn't have my house in order. My savings was about $1,200. I mean, I did not have a great career path. I was not ready to find a spouse. And so same thing with the franchisors. Are you ready? Do you have a training program in place with a solid ops manual? Did you use a franchise attorney to build that FDD in the agreement? And there's about 30 or 40 other things, but having the house in order first, and now have that franchise development rep that knows what they're doing. I mean, the analogy I use, I'm an analogy freak, is when you have your kids, I have my 3 little babies that now are pretty much grown, but when we were looking for a babysitter,
Hmm.
uh, the babysitter themselves, super important, and the house, super important. So if we're going to take our baby that is our life and let somebody else take care of it, I want that house to be safe. I want that house to be in a good neighborhood. I want that house to be okay for my baby to stay in. But you know what's more important than the house? The babysitter. And so what's more important oftentimes than the franchise opportunity itself is who's representing it. And so whether you the franchise development rep working at a franchisor are dealing with a candidate, someone interested in their brand, or dealing with a consultant who's going to find them candidates, either way, if that franchise development rep does not know their stuff, know the answers to all the things that the candidates are going to ask and the consultants are going to ask, they're going to be dead in the water. You can have the greatest opportunity in the world. If your franchise development rep is not likable, seen as a trusted advisor, not greasy, has their act together, helps the candidates see themselves moving, transitioning to this new world, you're fooling yourself. And so oftentimes, Lance, I talk to emerging brands, especially, that the founder, the number one most passionate person in the world for the brand, the expert on the brand, is going to try to do franchise development. Now, kudos, occasionally it works, but you're the CEO, you're the founder, you've got the original business, now you've got a franchise business, you've got all the resources behind the scenes, all the things you got to do for that, and suddenly you're going to do franchise development too, which is a full-time dedicated job if you plan on adding more than 2 or 3 franchisees a year. So get the right franchise rep. I know it's a long answer again. I get passionate about this because I see so many Zors floundering, not serious about franchise development. They just think they're going to open, their shingle and folks are going to flock. And rarely is that the case.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I noticed is running your own franchise. You have a business, you franchised it. That's one learning set, right?
Yeah.
But when you have to then sell those franchises to somebody else and then help replicate what you did with completely other people, those are
Mm-hmm.
2 unrelated skill sets, and you have 3 skill sets instead of 1, and they're just not prepared for it.
Yeah. You know what they say in the Bible, going back to the preacher days here,
Mhm.
you got to leave and cleave. When you get married, because you're leaving the mom and dad and you're going to the spouse. And when you become a franchisor, guess what? You're no longer whatever you used to be. Let somebody else run that. Sure, you can oversee it. When I was franchisor 20 years ago, 18 years ago, 15 years ago, I hired somebody to run that business for me. They checked in with me an hour a week. I had some metrics on my computer I was watching to make sure they had it together. But man, I'm a franchisor. This franchise business is going to be 100 times bigger than the mom and pop. Now, the mom and pop was
Mhm.
a 7-figure business annually, but man, you got to have all hands on deck focused on your new life, divorcing that old business almost, and get
Mhm.
going with the new life. And when I started building it up and got to around 100 franchisees, I actually sold the original business. I don't need any distractions. Let's move everything into one basket, if you will, because
Right.
that was my life.
Well, you mentioned something, and I've not asked people this question, but I've noticed it. So if you have somebody who is a company representative that's helping companies sell their franchise, and they're just not ideal. Maybe
Okay.
they're just not they've kind of they don't do a good job, and then they move on, and somebody who's new to franchising goes, "Oh, you have 5 years in franchising," and they rehire them, and it keeps going. How does a new franchisor identify that really good rep that's going to have good relationships and connection in the industry? Because there's some company reps that are so good that if they move to any company, everyone's going to follow them and promote that new company. And there's
Right.
ones where if they move to a company, nobody's going to promote that company. How does a franchisor, not being part of this world, figure out who to work with?
It's like when you're hiring someone, a critical person, or really anyone for your company, you're going to call previous employers, call previous franchisors. Let's talk to other spheres of influence. Certainly, you're going to ask for some referral sources from the candidate, but
Mm-hmm.
also look at their history, look at their past, and go direct. If they didn't give you that Zor, but the Zor's on their LinkedIn, let's go talk to that franchisor and get a little bit of the skinny. And most of the time, you can read between the lines. They're not going to say anything too negative, but at the same time, you got to listen closely, and you'll hear what you need to hear. Um, Asking that candidate, that franchise development rep that you're looking to hire, asking them about how many franchises they've awarded. Asking them some simple questions. You're a new franchisor. You're not the expert. They've been at it a long time, and they're a salesperson, so they can snow you sometimes. But really, just listen to the answers thoroughly. Talk to a lot of folks about them, because guess what? When you're buying a franchise, what do? You do validation. When you're hiring somebody to represent your baby, you're doing a lot of validation behind the scenes to make sure this is the right fit. Think of all the money and time and life and effort you invest into a brand, and you get some bozo to represent that brand. You hire your neighbor, your brother-in-law down the street, your used car salesman. Get somebody for real. Pay a little extra. It will make all the difference. Lance, when I was a franchisor, I started saying I'm going to get a tattoo that says there's nothing more expensive than a cheap attorney. And because it's so true. And you can extend that in a lot of areas of life. Nothing more expensive than a cheap CPA. Nothing more expensive than a cheap franchise development rep. Pay for quality. It'll come back tenfold.
Yeah, they represent your brand.
Yeah.
So what would you say, how long does it typically take for companies who really engage with IFPG to start seeing results, start getting some referrals sent over and get some traction?
That is such a big question. Get some traction is very relative as well. Some brands get there a whole lot faster than others. And the elephant in the room oftentimes is the emerging brands. Emerging brands, I go, we got 0 franchises. We got 8 franchises. 8's a lot better than 0. But regardless of lead source, it's just a tougher road to hoe.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it road to hoe? Farming scenario. Okay, road to hoe. It's tougher, but so they can take a little while longer. But how do you, with the consultants, how do you have success? We talked about a good part of it earlier. Have your house in order. Now that your house is in order, you got an outstanding opportunity. You got an item 19. You got your franchise brochure and all the other pieces of the puzzle. Now it's time to market it. And with the consultant community, it's no different. Instead of marketing to the world through the portals and through pay per click and maybe trying to get some PR and all those things, now you're marketing to the consultants. Let them find the buyers for you. And so investing some money into marketing is critical to success within the consultant networks like IFPG. If you just sit there and wait, you're going to be waiting, and you're going to have some trickles. You're going to have some that come your way. They're going to check if the territory is available, but then you hear nothing, crickets again. So getting the consultants to know you, like you, trust you, then they will show you. They'll show your brand to their
Mm-hmm.
candidates. Well, love you does not happen day one oftentimes. They get to know you, see you're serious, understand your brand, get to know your friend dev rep if they don't already know them. Now, if they already know them, you just jumped a few hurdles real fast, and you're validated by a known entity, rock star friend dev rep. Man, kudos to you for being able to attract such a rock star. Most can't attract a rock star or pay for them right off the bat, or are willing to pay for them. So get in there, start building the relationship, start following up quickly, follow up thoroughly, show them you know what you're doing. They'll start giving you their babies. Now, the babies, it's not a deal yet, but these are folks that are really qualified in every way and interested in you. You can get some deals happening.
Mm-hmm.
Just take some time and effort and money.
Yep. And I would say if you're new or struggling, one thing I would do is write out all the list of things that you don't want to talk about and then make those to where you do want to talk about them. Make them something that stands out, because there's things where, it comes to income or item 19 and you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. Well, make it to where you do want to talk about it. Those core things, like if you go to a restaurant, the key thing of the restaurant is the food good? Now, you can take a place where there's bad food and put up a fancy new sign, do TV commercials, paint it, furnish the room, get the best wait staff, and the food is terrible. Well, with a franchise, that's your business opportunity. You can do all this stuff, but is the business opportunity still need to be improved? If it does, it's going to be a slug. And then
Yep.
All the consultants are going to be like, the company's not ready. So you're
Right.
just fighting an uphill battle until you make those necessary improvements.
Bro, and if you don't want to talk about your item 19, get out of the business. Oh my gosh, that's the most exciting thing you've got. This is the earnings claims that I'm allowed to share. Let me tell you what you can do. You're ashamed of your item 19, then pause, get it fixed, then move forward.
Because you're going to hurt people if they can't make money with your opportunity.
You're going to waste your life and your money and your effort and everything else too. You're not going to sell anything. You got a sad item 19. And if you don't have an item 19, let's find out why. I mean, some attorneys tell you, oh, well, you only have corporate stores. You can't do item 19. Not even. Go get a new attorney. You're only in Canada. You can't do a U.S. item 19. Seriously, let's get a second and third opinion there.
Well, maybe my last question for you is, what are some of the common mistakes that franchisors make when working with brokers? And how can someone get the best results possible?
My gosh, another 3-hour answer, brother. All right. Well, I see on YouTube, I've got the top 10 mistakes I see franchisors make constantly. I've got 10 little 2-minute, 3-minute videos on that, and I got about 40 more in my list here on my computer somewhere. You know what? Something that is just a mistake I see over and over again: too low IFF. Your initial franchise fee is too low. Now, how does that relate to consultants? It relates to everything you do in franchise development. A low franchise fee because you're scared to charge what you're worth, because some attorney told you that, well, you're emerging, you really can't charge what others charge. Well, I'm a pizza restaurant and Pizza Hut charges 30, so I can't be above that. Dude, you ain't Pizza Hut. You need to make a living now. You're not $1 billion company. So people are scared to charge what they're worth and charge. You know what? This is a life decision. If I'm a franchise candidate and I'm looking to make a life decision, this is bigger than my house. That's what I'm going to do every day. I want the best. Yeah, money's important. Yeah, money's tight, but dude, I'm going to get the best. I see one for 25,000 franchise fee and one for 50. Man, I bet that 50 is a whole lot better than that 25. You know what? The all-in investment, 400. So an additional 20 or 15 or 25 in your franchise fee ain't going to matter. Is it 390 or is it 410? I don't know the difference, and they don't either. They're getting a loan for 5. So get serious about a franchise. There's so many things you got to pay out of that. Maybe a consultant commission, but certainly marketing, training, onboarding, maybe an initial package with that's included. Lots and lots that's in that. Now, other things are believing, not hiring a good franchise development rep, not getting all in, trying to keep your old life and your new life and intermingle them too much. We already talked about that. Not having an item 19, not having good, solid franchise marketing materials, and a franchise website takes folks through a process. You know, today more than ever, everybody wants to know as much as they can before they talk to some sales guy, sales gal. Well, are you providing it? Because you know what? If you're not providing it, somebody else is, and they'll go there. Or somebody's already talking about you in a negative way, perhaps, and they're going to see that and not your 100 different ways that you're awesome. A little selfish plug. Franchise Wire does that for franchisors every day. Writes custom articles on the #1 news platform in franchising for franchisors. So that's something that we help significantly with SEO and with articles out there.
One thing I wanted to ask you, Red, is I see franchisors putting out random promotional materials. Like they have all these marketing materials or whatever. It's just, what do you do with it? So can you let them know what's needed and what's necessary when it comes to the promotional materials that you're making and handing out to either franchisees or brokers?
You bet. So we have what's called a 2-minute drill. 2-minute drill in franchising is everything that a candidate or a consultant need to know about your business in 2 minutes or less. It's kind of like that 30-second elevator pitch. Give me the skinny. And so what is important? They don't care where you went to elementary school, Mr. Franchisee. They don't care where you met your spouse in junior high. Now, as you take a candidate through the process, they're going to be partnering with you for the long term. Hey, those are great things to talk about, but let's get them interested. Let's get them excited about it. To give a few numbers from your item 19, perhaps. Tell them how many units you have, how long you've been around, your average unit volume. Give them some snapshots. We're a very visual society nowadays. Give them some links to your social media pages. You do have social media pages, don't you? Keep them up to date with all the exciting things going on in your brand. Your reviews online, are they rocking? If so, let's get some links to them. So what's important now with consultants, the commission structure is a factor out there that they do need to be communicated. They do need to know. We never suggest you put that in any downloads or in any 2-minute drills, unless it's a physical one you're handing out maybe at a convention. Our technology and the profiles we build for the franchisors include all that. So it's old school to include commissions in a 2-minute drill. No need to do that anymore on any download. But really, it's a thorough assessment, 2 minutes or less, about this opportunity, who you are, and maybe even include a little bit about your ideal candidate. If you like this, if you've done this, here's what you'd be doing day to day. Keep it short, simple, get other eyeballs to review it. Does it make sense? Is it enticing? A lot of times you're, again, blind to your beautiful baby that nobody else thinks is so beautiful. So get help from outside sources to create those.
Yep. I think they're focused on more quantity versus more quality. And some of them are so close but not there, because I've seen things like an email from a brand saying, "Hey, we just opened a new franchise location again, luck strikes again." When I see that in my email, I'm like, okay, what would be more exciting? Our brands just hit an AUV of $1.7 million for the year. That is more important to me than you saying you opened up a new location. It doesn't mean anything to me. I wasn't the one who referred it. I have no interest in it. Show me that you're getting amazing results. Now I feel left behind. I feel like, wow, this is a great brand. I should have been promoting this. So just those tweaks of thinking about the person who's receiving the information and how it's being received to them, not just putting out more.
Lance, that's good. I would dovetail on that. There's a balance, because, man, we say this all the time. I hear it from top consultants. Leads follow deals. Get the word out. Shout to the rooftops when you are doing deals. Include the AUVs, include the benefit, maybe include a picture of the new franchisee and their profile. Again, helps the consultant understand, who are you looking for? Who's your ideal candidate? Because when these consultants see deals happening, brands growing, thriving with new franchisees, they take notice.
Right. Especially if you can say stuff like, 15th deal this year or something like that, Definitely it shows momentum for sure. Well, Red, I just appreciate having the time to be on this call with you, spend this time with you, pick your brain. You're such a smart person. You've been around, done it all. So thank you for being on the call.
Honored, Lance. Thank you for all you do to change lives in franchising. Guys, check out Lance. He's the man. Appreciate you, brother. Holler anytime.
And I'll just tell everybody, if you're interested in IFPG, there's a link next to this video. You can click on it and check them out. And then also, or not, you can go to franpro.com/IFPG. Thanks, Red.
Appreciate you, Lance.